Yo guys, what's good? It's your boy Tacho here, and we're back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Okay, so Tempest Trial Hana, let's talk about this girl. She's going to be our latest prize unit, and it looks like she's going to be one of the best Tempest Trial units to date, pretty much. Like, I don't think there's too many units that can compete with her. In terms of scoring, she scores just as high as Flame Emperor, except with the added bonus of being an infantry type unit. So no movement restrictions or barely any effective type damage that she has to worry about. Both very good things. She's going to be a very competent arena unit because of that. Also, she's just Echidna on roids, pretty much, with her stat line. Basically, every single important stat she's just better than Echidna in, except with defense and res flip-flopped. So she's going to be great on defense. She's going to be great on offense. And, like, she's just really good. I'm so glad that I didn't even build Echidna yet, because I'm still missing copies of her to go for the plus 10. So I think I'm going to go ahead and save up my heroic rails and just build Hana. Now, the only issue I have with Hana is that she's another green unit, and we have so many good green units already. We got Ross, we got Mustafa, we got Echidna, and then for me personally, I've got plus 10 on Brave Ike and Surtur, Myrrh and Legendary Hector, and so on. So, like, do I really need to make another green unit? I don't know about that, but I think I will go for Hana anyway. At least she is a player phase green unit, and like most of my plus 10 greens are just bait units. So I think it would be nice to have some diversity there. Now, another thing that kind of irks me about this is, if we take a look at Nemesis, like, why did they shaft Nemesis on the Super Boon? Because Hana has two Super Boons here, actually. She's got one in speed, and she's got one in defense. And because of that, she can score in the 180 bin. Whereas Nemesis is trapped in 179 BST limbo. I don't know why they didn't give him, like, plus attack as a Super Boon. Especially when Hana has speed, and, like, that's arguably the best stat to take on her anyway. Whereas with, like, a unit like Ina, she had a Super Boon in speed, so she could score 180. But it was kind of like, you don't really want speed on a unit like Ina anyway. She's probably going to have Dragon's Ire in the B slot, so, like, you don't really need speed on her. But it was a nice option to get the BST scoring. So this is just salt in the wound with Nemesis. And I'm like one of the biggest Nemesis defenders. So I don't know what they were thinking. I feel like this might even be an apology for Nemesis in some ways. But I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent here. This is Hana's video. So for her base kit, she's got Ninja Masakari. Very awesome weapon. It's just a supreme brave weapon. It's got one more might than the Brave Axe. And instead of doing -5 to speed, it actually gives you +4 to speed. So a 9-point difference on speed if you're trying to go for quad attacks. That is outrageously good. And then you are taking -4 to defense and res. Not like that even matters if you're going to be hitting the foes consecutively. So, very powerful ninja weapons. Like, this banner with the weapons, I think, is definitely going to steal the show. She's also got Glimmer, Life and Death 3, and Wrath 3. Not really the most interesting passive skills. Life and Death 3 was already on 4-star Soth. And we got a couple of ways to get Wrath, but I guess all of them are kind of questionable, because it's like, would you really want to sacrifice the units that have Wrath, or would you rather just go for the merges on them? I guess that's going to be up to your own discretion. And for recommended IVs, I mean, plus speed, like, you guys don't need me to tell you that. So let's go ahead and move on to the budget build now. Okay, so there's a couple of things we could actually do for the budget build. You can go ahead and change up her weapon if you want. I am going to stick with Ninja Masakari because I do like this weapon, and I think it's very powerful. But the typical inheritable axes are on the table too, like Slaying Axe or Deck Swabber or Huge Fan. It's just whichever one you prefer to go for. But with Ninja Masakari, we can actually take full advantage of the classic budget build here. So we got Fury 3, we got Desperation, and we got Brazen Attack and Speed. The bread and butter budget build, basically. Until they decide to give us some better passive skills that we can inherit. But otherwise, quad attacking in a row with a brave weapon. And we've got Luna as well. I was thinking maybe to go like Flashing Blade 3 as the seal, and then have Moonbow, because theoretically, if she hits the foes 4 times like that, she's going to proc Moonbow twice, but it's only 60% reduction on the foe's defense if you want to calculate them together, whereas Luna is already doing 50% defense reduction, and you are going to win out a little bit more by having Brazen Attack and Speed as the seal over Flashing Blade. So I think this is probably the way to go. The only really debatable skill here, I think, is the C slot, where I've given her Rouse, Speed, and Defense. You could go for Defense Smoke instead if you have Dance support and you want her to attack multiple times. There's unfortunately not really any way to gain attack in the C slot. Like, we could go for the Wave skills, but I'm not a fan of those. So I think Rouse, Speed, and Defense is probably going to be the most consistent way to gain some stats on her. But there's also like support options you can do too, like tactic skills or opening skills or gap skills. Any of those are fine if you want to support the team and give stat bonuses to someone else. Alright, so moving along, we have a player phase build with high investment. So the more I thought about it, the more I realized how insane these ninja weapons actually are. And it makes perfect sense why they decided to give Flashing Blade 4 to Navarre. So Ninja Masakari, it's giving you +4 speed. Of course, that's already helping Flashing Blade and making it easier for you to proc. But then Flashing Blade is also giving you 5 true damage for every attack. And these ninja weapons let you hit 4 times. So that's basically +20 true damage just from Flashing Blade 4. Whereas opposed to other weapons, you'd only be getting +10 true damage from 2 hits. So Flashing Blade 4 plus a ninja weapon is like so over the top ridiculous that I think we have to go for that for the investment build. Again, we're going for Desperation and Brazen Attack and Speed, but I did put Gale Force on this build because it's going to be very consistent to activate when you've got Flashing Blade 4 and a potential quad attack. So that's what we're doing here. We have Joint Drive Attack for the C, but you could go for Joint Drive Speed instead if you would prefer some extra speed. The only downside is, of course, that the ninja weapons only have 9 might, and they are already giving you +4 speed anyway. So I think the additional attack from Joint Drive Attack is going to be more appreciated for this weapon. So overall, very powerful stuff, especially with dance support, but you are free to run a whole bunch of other different weapons if you want. Slaying Axe is going to make it more consistent to use Gale Force with Flashing Blade. And of course, you would go for the speed refine on that weapon. So that could be an option. You could also go for Times Pulse as well in the C, if you'd prefer to guarantee the Gale Force in 2 hits and not have to try to go for 3 hits or more. And if you'd prefer to use a whole bunch of dance support with Wings of Mercy, you don't have to run Gale Force either. You could go for a damaging special. Like Ruptured Sky is going to be very good. She's going to get it on every second hit with Flashing Blade, and it calculates damage using the foe's attack stat. So a nice way to get around the little 9-point might problem with these ninja weapons. And of course, Ruptured Sky is only going to scale even better if you're fighting beasts and dragon types. So all pretty good options. There's like so many different ways you can build this Hana, it's insane. She's a very versatile and varied unit, with her stat line allowing her to pull off all these different roles. And finally, for the bait build, we're pretty much just stealing the best build from Echidna. So we've got Dex Swabber for that juicy lull attack and defense 5, comboed with Spurn 3 for the damage reduction, and then we've got Distant Counter, Pulse Smoke, and Speed and Res solo. If you're going to run this build, you're definitely going to want Brave Lucina for support, so you can get the passive breath effect and activate Noontime on every counter hit. But if you don't have access to Brave Lucina, then Huge Fan is also an option for the weapon. It's going to give you that breath effect innately, but you are, of course, missing out on that juicy lull attack and defense. So it just depends on whether or not you actually have Brave Lucina. You could try Slaying Axe as well, but I would still give the push to Huge Fan, because you're gaining additional points to attack and defense. Otherwise, as far as alternate options go, in the C slot, you could run something like Times Pulse, and that's another way to get around Brave Lucina if you don't have her. But it's only going to be good for the first attack during a turn, So if you need Hana to bait multiple enemies, then she's not going to get that consistent noontime off. Also, joint drive attack or joint drive speed, always on the table for these units. Joint drive attack more so because the additional attack is going to be very nice with noontime. And really the only other thing I could say you could use here is maybe quick repost as the Sacred Seal over speed and res solo. And the reason why quick repost is because it's going to give her a better matchup against impact skills. And the only downside to this build is that we are missing out on null follow-up. So by having quick repost as the seal, you can get a pseudo version of null follow-up and negate the impact and bring the double attack down to a speed check. So that could be nice. But more or less, this Hana is just Echidna on roids. So any builds that you may have run on Echidna is going to apply to Hana as well. And honestly, like, the speed refine on her weapon may even be overkill here. You could go for plus defense or plus res if you'd prefer. Or maybe even plus defense IVs, because she does have a super boon in that too. But really, it's just going to come down to preference with that, and whichever stats you feel like you want to go for the most. So that just about covers us for the new Tempest Trial Hana. Very awesome unit. Very fantastic free-to-play merge project. And like I said, I think I am going to go for the plus 10 on her next. Let me know in the comments section down below how you plan to build your Hana, and whether you'd prefer to go for a player phase or enemy phase build. But that's going to wrap us up for today. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. And I will catch y'all again on the flip side.